the process was new, because I'd be like, oh, I'm done, and then they'd call me 2 days later and be like, oh, we have a new song, and we need it done in like 3 weeks.
For as long as there's been Disney movies, there's been I Want songs. As the name implies, these are songs where the protagonist of the film sings about what their desires are. These songs are important for 2 reasons. First, they create a turning point in the story. I Want songs happen when a character is too emotional to talk. They've hit their breaking point and need to tell the world how they really feel. After the I Want song, the story kicks into gear. Second, they establish true character motivations. Without Part of Your World, for example, Ariel would seem more like her goal was finding a man as opposed to wanting to be part of a society that accepts her. That's why the creators of Little Mermaid fought so hard to keep it in the movie. They knew how pivotal the song was to the entire story. Unlike villain songs, which I discussed in my last video, I can't think of a major Disney musical that lacked an I Want song. In recent years, Frozen had one, Moana had one, Encanto had one, even the Tangled spin-off series had one. Please check out Waiting in the Wings, by the way. So naturally, for Disney's 100th anniversary film, they were going to include another entry into the category of I Want songs. This Wish is aptly named, to say the least. Like, yeah, that's certainly what an I Want song is about. It plays when Asha becomes so frustrated by the situation with her grandfather's wish that she runs off and bursts into song so she can wish upon a star because, you know, 100th anniversary movie. It's being played when the character is so emotional they can't talk anymore. So far, so good.
Isn't truth supposed to set you free?
Ah, you kinda tripped out at the gate there. Bear with me, this is going to sound incredibly pedantic, but it's an important lesson in songwriting. This is Disney we're talking about. My standards are through the roof. So you might be wondering why that line sounds awkward. It's because isn't starts with a stressed syllable, but the rest of the phrase is more iambic, meaning it's an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. Try singing it out loud, you'll see what I mean. It's kind of hard to place the notes. If you think that's nitpicky, go back to older songs and try locating the stresses in each line. You'll notice more solid rhythms.
Safe behind these windows and these parapets of stone.
Even in this song, the third line sounds more solid than the first because it's 10 iambic syllables.
If I could show them everything I've seen.
If I could show them everything I've seen. It flows more naturally. You might be wondering why I care so much about a single missed syllable, and it's because this is the type of thing that would be smoothed out after the first draft. Meter is the type of thing that should be second nature to an experienced songwriter. For any of you aspiring songwriters wondering why your lyrics might sound awkward, consider learning more about meter. Back to This Wish, I also don't think the singer is landing fully on rhythm, which can be okay in a dramatic performance, but she sounds rushed here, like the melody is being thought of as she sings it. There's no repeating musical phrases. This random high note only makes me feel more confident in that theory.
Well, why do I feel so weighed down by it?
On to the next line.
Open their eyes to all the lies, then would they change their minds like I did?
Stop. You are not Lin-Manuel Miranda. It's annoying when he does it. It's not less annoying when you do it. Just because you can rhyme multiple words in a line doesn't always mean you should. It can mess with meter by adding emphasis on different beats. Switching rhythms can be done effectively, but you have to be careful with it, and this isn't careful. Speaking of rhymes, the next couplet lacks one entirely.
But when I speak, they tell me sit down. But how can I when I've already started running?
The rhyme scheme for this whole verse is unusual. That can be a good thing sometimes, but the lyrics lack the poetic qualities that can excuse breaking the rules. Usually to skirt around rhyme schemes or to not rhyme at all, you need each line to hold enough meaning to make them stand out on their own or within the context of a few other strong lines. Some famous examples from the pop world would be Stairway to Heaven and Chasing Cars. This Wish uses very plain and vague language, so the lines don't hold much weight on their own. They're not profound, concise, or quotable, so the missed rhyme between sit down and running feels more like a lazy choice than an artistic one. It's especially noticeable because the delivery of that line feels so awkward, almost random.
But how can I when I've already started running?
Also, has this instrumentation sounded familiar to anyone yet? It sounds a lot like How Far I'll Go in 6/8 time, doesn't it? For those of you who don't know, 6/8 time is when there's 6/8 notes per measure, like a faster waltz. Anyway, I know that How Far I'll Go doesn't own the acoustic guitar and strings combination, but this instrumentation is so generic that it's hard to distinguish the two. Even the first choruses are similar.
So I look up at the stars to guide me. See the light where the sky meets the sea. It calls me.
They both focus on single strums of the guitar with the percussion coming in.
And throw caution to every warning sign. Wind in my sail on the sea stays behind me.
Wow, as I'm editing this and adding in the clips, the difference in animation quality, woof. The song also sounds similar to Waiting on a Miracle from Encanto, because that's another guitar-driven song that used 6/8 time, and that was the most recent I Want song before This Wish, so it feels even more derivative.
So I make this wish to have something more. Take another night up in my room, waiting on a miracle.
That being said, I don't hate the instrumentation. I think it sounds nice. It's just that I've heard it before, and that's not good in a franchise where every other song is able to be distinguished by the first few notes. The first two lines of the chorus also struggle with meter. Are you starting to see a pattern here? You can tell by how the singer has to extend this particular note on the word throw to make the line work. The beats of the lyrics aren't even in line with the strums of the guitar.
And throw caution to every warning sign.
It creates a break in the rhythm that takes you out of the song. 6/8 is a time signature that relies heavily on hitting those strong beats to drive the rhythm throughout the song, so missing out on a chance to emphasize those beats with lyrics will hurt the effort. For an example of this done correctly, refer to Waiting on a Miracle.
I can't heal what's broken, can't keep down the unspoken, invisible pain.
I can't believe how much Wish is making me praise Encanto. I think Disney should get rid of Miranda, and the monkey's paw curls. In terms of the meaning of the lyrics, I have bigger issues.
To have something more for us than this.
Something more than what? In the first verse of the song, it doesn't establish anything, so without the broader context of the movie, I have no idea what she's talking about. Even with the broader context of the movie, the people are overall pretty happy, so what more does she want? The first part of the first verse is about being weighed down by some revelation, but then it transitions more into being about refusing to keep quiet when told no. Then, the chorus is about looking up to the stars for guidance and throwing caution to the wind. Or rather, to throw caution to every warning sign, even though throwing caution towards a warning sign means to be careful, which is the opposite of what that line is going for. Man, I don't know. The chorus as a whole sounds okay. It's vague and repetitive, sure, but I actually do like the way it sounds, like instrumentally. It's a good hook. As a pop songwriter, Julia Michaels is well versed in creating hooks, so I'm not surprised that this chorus has a part to it that sounds catchy. It's actually been stuck in my head. The instrumental pickup is quite lovely, and Ariana DeBose gives a nice performance. I could see it working well in a song with better lyrics, but it's all very poppy, isn't it? The haze, the yas, the repetition, and the vocal run. Those wouldn't sound out of place in a song on the radio. Neither would the vocal production with all its layers. That's probably what Disney was going for. They wanted another #1 hit, and they thought this was going to get them that. They built this song for TikTok and the radio, so it's digestible by a large consumer base. Moving on to the second verse, the first couplet is okay, but I have issues with the second.
Freedom in my bones, but I've still got the lid on so it doesn't overflow.
Those words have never been put together like that, ever. It's a forced rhyme and a clunky metaphor. I understand the idea it's trying to get across, that she's not fully ready to commit, but I'm confused by the phrase, so it doesn't overflow. What's overflowing? Freedom? That doesn't make sense. If the word was something like passion, it would work better, because that's a concept that can feel individually overwhelming. Throughout the song, the theme keeps switching. The next line refers to having reservations, even though the chorus seems to be trying to say she has none.
'Cause I've got reservations and hesitations on where I should even begin.
Oh yeah, wow, there's a time signature change in this song. If you're wondering why that bridge sounds so out of place, it's because it's in 4/4 time. It's not the worst time signature change I've ever heard, but that's really weird because the song has been presenting itself as a safe pop song up to this point. It's a strange choice to say the least, but then I listened to it again, and you know what I realized?
I'm past dipping my toes in, but I'm not past diving in. I can lead with pride, I can make us strong. I'll be satisfied if I play along.
It's the same exact trick with the strings. I wonder if they just showed Julia Michaels the last 2 I Want songs and told her, do that, then gave her 3 weeks. It's nice, like I said, but completely unimaginative. That doesn't mean you're not allowed to like this song. If you do, more power to you, but as a piece in a musical, it just didn't work for me. Oh, also, she rhymes in with in.
I'm past dipping my toes in, but I'm not past diving in.
The song then transitions into a grand chorus in, again, the same way How Far I'll Go did.
I look up at the stars to guide me. I with the sky, with the sea, it calls me.
The guitar strums loudly, the strings swell, and it's all very lovely, but oh so very generic. Then it ends on a soft version of the hook, because of course it does.
So I make this wish.
I remember listening to this song for the first time before the movie came out and looking at the lyrics and thinking to myself, what's this song even about? When you compare this wish to other I Want songs, you'll notice the lack of specific language. Out There mentions the Seine River, Waiting on a Miracle mentions the Madrigal family name, and For the First Time in Forever is entirely dependent on its context. Even beyond using specific words, every I Want song has a goal in mind. Go the Distance doesn't use any context-specific language either, but it's clearly about wanting to be a hero. I can't glean anything from this wish. What is it really about? If you ask Julia Michaels, she doesn't really seem to know this either.
Told that the protagonist in this film was sort of a young activist. Basically, there was a lot of corruption in her town, and she basically wanted to fight for things that she found immoral.
They didn't give her any real context. I wonder if they let her write this song super early in development and then didn't let her update it. They were like, yeah, that's good, that's okay, we can put it in our finished product. Songwriters should be involved in the entire process from beginning to end. They should be able to work through development and with the finished story. I think that goes without saying. Olivia Rodrigo and Billie Eilish had full context when they wrote the songs last year for The Hunger Games and the Barbie movie, respectively.
I was so excited to get to watch the movie before anyone else had seen it, so I was like, sign me up!
So why not give the same privilege to Julia Michaels when the songs are supposed to be so integral to the story? My theory is that they wanted to keep it vague. They didn't want a song to be too dependent on context because it's easier to market that way. They wanted a radio hit. The thing is, Can't Catch Me Now by Olivia Rodrigo and What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish were written with context and were still commercially successful, especially What Was I Made For. They're commercially successful not just because they're better songs, but because they also remind people of their respective movies. This Wish doesn't remind me of anything, except How Far I'll Go, apparently. It's not hitting any real character beats, and it keeps switching themes, so it's totally out of focus. It doesn't help that many people who watched Wish found Asha to be something of a spoiled brat, so she's not coming off as that stubborn activist the song wants you to think she is. This song sounds like it was written in one draft. When I think about I Want songs, I always think back to the shine in Ariel's eyes as she says, I want to be where the people are. I think about Quasimodo shouting from the rooftops that he'll spend one day out there. I think about Mulan sitting in front of the reflective stones wondering when her reflection will show who she is inside. I even think about Aurora dancing about a prince she saw once upon a dream. There's magic in making a wish. You'd think Disney would know this better than anyone. It's basically their calling card. Before their 100th anniversary, they fell far short of capturing that same magic because they were too concerned with making their next radio hit. Between this song and Wish's villain song, it's clear to me that Disney cares more about appealing to the broadest possible consumer base than taking any risks that create memorable storytelling. Wish as a whole hits the beats of a Disney movie without doing anything specific with those beats. It really is like an AI. It knows what it's supposed to do, but it can't put any heart or soul into it. Even then, I've seen AI do some impressive things, so I could only assume Iger and company went out of their way to stomp out anything that may have made Wish less marketable to the lowest common denominator because it makes their shareholders happy. I hope you have a great new year. For more Disney content, check out my other videos, subscribe if you'd like, and have a wonderful day.